All right, so this is new to me, so I apologize for a couple minutes delay here. We got our technical difficulties worked out, and if you're here, I'm just going to make a few announcements or comments to get started while people are gathering. And the first thing I would love to say is thank you so much for joining us. We are KiddyKeys, and we love to have fun and make musical stars, and would love to hear from where you are if you are online and watching live, and if you're watching the replay, feel free to enter your location as well. I apologize for the glare. I've got a little bit of well, when I lived in the north, we used to call these grizzly days. It's gray and drizzly, so I called it grizzly when I was a kid. But anyway, hopefully it's not too distracting. And when you're watching the replay as well, hello, Nicole and Lynette, welcome. And we are going to be having a lot of discussion. I'm going to share about my personal experience. It is a little bit distracting, and for me personally, when I am working on these, to try to watch the comments at the end. So what I'm going to do is have a question and answer session at the end. Please feel free to type in your questions as you go, as well as in the replay. If you're watching in the replay, we'll watch those and see if we can get back in touch with you guys and answer those as well. So feel free to type in your questions as we go. If it's really urgent, Chris is going to text me, and I'll go ahead and get that into the program in the middle, but it isn't that much. We'll maybe save it till the end if possible. I think that's all I had for announcements. Do we want to wait a little bit longer, Chris? I'm looking at the comments for the moment. Do we want to wait a little longer to see if a couple more join us, or should I tell some more KiddyKey stories? So, all right. She says, let's dive in. So I'm going to start ignoring the comment box, not to be rude, but I'm going to go ahead and just present what I wanted to share, and then we'll come back for comments and questions at the end. So first of all, again, welcome. Thank you again for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, whoever joins us eventually. Please feel free to share this video live if you know other people that might be encouraged or have a benefit from using KiddyKeys. If you I believe you can do that live as well as in the replay. So please feel free to share if you think it's of benefit to them. And the first thing I wanted to talk about is how I personally use KiddyKeys in my studio. The first way I have used it is to use the KiddyKeys and Company, which is where it's with a child and the parent or grandparent with an adult. And those classes are super fun because there's so much bonding that goes on with the parent or the grandparent and the child, and they make a lot of happy memories. So I really like those classes. Also, I use the KiddyKeys material in what we would call a more traditional format, which is with the 3, 2.5 to 3-year-olds up to 5-year-olds all mixed together in a group of, say, 5 to 8 students or so. Those are great. The parents are not usually involved in those, and that is, I do that at a private school. I've also done it in my studio. So those, and I've done it in a preschool. So those are very flexible as far as environment as well. I also use, because I've become so familiar with the materials themselves, I actually use the individual components of the KiddyKeys material. For example, I have a student in a private lesson that's really struggling with finding their hand position on a song that has 3 black keys. I'll pop out my phone, open the 3 black key song, and we'll sing and play that song a time or two sometimes to help them get a grasp on where their 3 black keys are. Then we can circle back around and see, oh, that's 3 black keys in that picture above your song. Are you able to find your 3 black keys now? or CDE or any of those concepts. Finger numbers will do a finger play if they need a finger play, if they're struggling. And, you know, I differentiate, of course, which probably many of you do as well. I'll differentiate between like how we count in school, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I say, but when we play with piano fingers, we start with this one and reiterate, and then do a finger play. So they can sort of compartmentalize why I'm doing it differently with them. So those are some ways that I pull out individual components of what I know from KiddyKeys to help my individual private students grasp a concept. I also, another way that I use the program is I was really blessed. I'd been teaching in a preschool private lessons for several years, and I had the director approach me about teaching at her school, not as an individual contractor, that I come in one morning a week and I start with the 2-year-old classes, the young 2s, and I work my way through all 6 of the classes all the way up to the pre-K 2, which has been a phenomenal experience, and I've really enjoyed doing that because the consistency of working with those kids has been amazing. I start with the 2-year-olds, the 2s and young 3s each have a 15-minute section. Then starting with the older 3s up to the pre-K 2, I have 30-minute sessions. So as they mature, I get a little bit more time to work with them. So the benefit of working with this school has been that I actually get to work year-round. So I go through the summer as well. The reinforcement opportunities are phenomenal. I can reinforce a concept for as long as I need to using, because there are so many different layers, and like there might be 3 or 4 different activities that we do, for example, for 3 black keys. If somebody's stuck, a class specifically is stuck on that, I can keep reviewing that with them, and you know, for 4 or 7 or 10 or whatever weeks until I can make sure that they all have a solid grasp on that. But if they went to grandma's house and saw a piano, they would know where to find 3 black keys, for example. So it also allows me, because it's year-round, it allows me to bring in some of the other wonderful elements that I've fallen in love with this curriculum, obviously, or I wouldn't be here, but I adore the composer part of it. And I've really been focusing on that for the past few months, where we're introducing a composer, some general facts about the composer, and then I'm sharing individual pieces by the composer, like actual pieces that the composer's written, and that allows the students to develop that musical ear. Like, does this sound like Mozart, or does this sound like Scott Joplin? Does this sound like Beethoven, or does this sound? And so I'm doing some kind of, the curriculum allows me the freedom to add that element of what to call it, I guess, music appreciation, where they can start to hear sort of this sound of an era of music. So I really appreciate that. Those are some of the ways that I use the curriculum in my studio. Some of the benefits for my studio are that I have actually had quite a few students graduate, so to speak, from that program into my studio. I teach in my studio private lessons, as well as I have a piano lab, so that's been super helpful to help populate my piano lab. So that's been a good, and that's come from both the preschool as well as my classes that I've had, the more what I would call regular classes. Now, the thing that appeals to me as a person, just how I'm wired, is KiddyKeys, the curriculum itself provides me with enough structure that I feel very confident pedagogically about what I'm teaching, and I'm on a good arc to get where I want these kids to be at the end of a year or 2, so that they'll be prepared to go into a piano lesson with confidence and ease. So I love that, but as I've sort of alluded to already, it also gives me the freedom to, it can be very dynamic, and it gives me the freedom to morph. For example, from a 2-year-old classroom where I'm teaching kids that literally just turned 2 for 15 minutes, and I can focus on the exact concept and the physical activities because that's where they are developmentally, but I also have the ability and the creativity and the freedom to, as I go up to older 2s and young 3s, I can change or add in things that they can do better. Young 2s aren't so hot at finger plays, so we do them so it starts to get into their brain. By the time they go up to older 2s, they're able to do more with their fingers, and they can give me the thumbs up for 1 and so forth. But then it also lets me go up to a 30-minute lesson with a class of 15 to 25-year-olds, which that is a developmentally, if you think about that, that's pretty phenomenal that this curriculum can cover that span of developmental skills, I guess. So that's my main appreciation of it. It just allows me to be creative. It's very dynamic. If someone asks a question, for example, someone asked a question, we had studied Mozart the first year. This is our second year at the preschool. We're doing the Beethoven curriculum. During the summer, I had introduced them to Camille Saint-Saëns, the Carnival of the Animals, and that group of lesson plans. And so they had Mozart, then Camille Saint-Saëns, and now they have Ludwig van Beethoven. And I had a student say, "Are there other composers?" Which opened the door for a great conversation. And we've since introduced Scott Joplin, and it's just really a dynamic curriculum as far as adding what the students need and being able to flow with the group. It's not like you're locked into this on the list, this on the list, this on the list. So as far as the things that I really appreciate about the curriculum, I don't want to repeat myself too much, so I've kind of morphed into that, I guess. That's the main thing that I love, is that it's dynamic. Another thing that I really appreciate about it, because of the diversity of students that I have, is that this program is, it addresses a lot of different learning styles. You have your tactile learners, auditory learners, visual learners, and it allows you to work with that and reinforce those concepts using a lot of different, all the different styles, so that they can get that in so many different paths through their brains. It also allows me to do as much review as I alluded to before. Another thing that I really appreciate, being a teacher that teaches over 60 students privately a week, and being a mother and entrepreneur, doing continuing education, all the things that we do as teachers, the ease of preparation. The lesson plans are so clearly laid out. It's just, I can literally get up the day of a class if I wanted to and pull the lesson plan, flip it over to the list of things that are required to be packed in the bag, verify that I have them packed in the bag, you know, right down to packing your crayons. It's on the list, your speaker, your crayons, your CD, whatever it is that you need to take, but it's already on the list. It's not like I have to be thinking through those details. So that ease of progression, of preparation, has been huge for me. Another element of what I really appreciate about KiddyKeys is the support. A+ on support. Between Chris herself and I'm going to go ahead, and if it's okay with you, Chris, layer in Jennifer Eklund and the road trip series. But between the two of them, I have this sense that it's going to be, you know, I have seen the progression of the well laid out lesson plans and the arc of how KiddyKeys teaches, and then I can just with tremendous ease take them into the road trip series, which then allows them to move into any primer. Again, the repetition gives them confidence, and I don't want to misquote Chris. Maybe she can type her amazing quote from about repetition building confidence. It's a good one. I don't have it on my fingertips right now, but maybe she could type it in the comments. But it's so true, and that's the beauty to me of how this works and the support that we have, even moving out of KiddyKeys, and where do we take those students? We're not just randomly preparing them and not sure where to plug them in. Also, there's a Facebook page, which I know I recognize the names that are over here, but for those who are maybe watching live, the repeat, there is a Facebook page. We love to help each other out. I don't see so many questions about this specific curriculum, but we're able to give each other support about how do we do things dealing with this parent or a student like this, and we just have that extra level of support where you can actually not feel like you're left out hanging to dry. So great support. Love that about KiddyKeys. I am kind of winding down with how I use it. So I thought I would at least make a recommendation if you're new to this or searching out, looking for ideas. I would suggest that you, I'll make the same recommendation, as a matter of fact, that I make when a parent asks me, what instrument should I buy? Should I get a $25 keyboard, or should I buy a baby grand? Or nobody asks me that, but anyway. But I always recommend to a parent, buy the most instrument that you can for the budget that you have, so that you don't have to upgrade as soon if your student progresses. So I would make the same exact recommendation for KiddyKeys. If you're trying to decide if you should, right now, I, of course, think if you could get the pack that has the 30 lessons and the supplies that accompany that, I think that that would be amazing, because that would give you all of the options that I've described. If you just need to dip your toe in the water and you're not sure, you know, try the sample pack. It's fantastic too. And I just think that you're going to have to upgrade sooner. So anyway, that would be my personal recommendation if I were asked, hey, how would you start if you were starting today? So that is kind of all I have for now. So I'm going to switch over to check and see if I have any. I'm looking at all my little places that I can see if there are questions. So hang on. So here, I'll say hello at the end to Carrie in Boston. Hi, Heather. Happy birthday, Heather, by the way. I haven't gotten that out, but I did see that it's your birthday. Lynette, it's a great series. She said I added the composer unit to her preschool class. It is a lot of fun. And confidence and competence. Yes, that's it. Chris, did you get that in there? Yes, there it is. Okay, I'm going to read it for those of you who haven't. But review leads to comfort and confidence. Comfort and confidence leads to competence. And a competence is the goal. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. I love that quote, and I apply it every single week that I teach, Chris. Thank you. All right, I don't see any questions. Yes, your criticisms, I love them. Does anybody have any comments or questions or thoughts to add to our presentation? If not, I am comfortable signing off, and thank you so much again for joining. Please, again, feel free to share if you think of anybody in Australia or Alaska or something that doesn't start with an A, Texas. No, I don't know. Share. It's an amazing curriculum, and it does support your studio in so many different ways that I hope that you're able to enjoy our time together. So thank you for joining us. Blessings. Have a wonderful day. I hope the weather's not as grizzly where you are, and we'll talk soon. I'll follow up on comments if you have them. Bye-bye.